Hello, my lovelies. Um, I apologize if this video does not sound up to par with some of my previous ones. First of all, I'm sick. I'm getting over COVID. Of course, I went nearly 3 years without ever getting COVID, and finally ended up getting it. Secondly, I'm not using my main microphone because every audio recording software I have tried to use with my main microphone pauses mid-recording and messes up the flow, and I've been dealing with this, trying to fix it, trying to troubleshoot and figure out why it does this for going on 2 years now, which is one of the reasons that I have not been recording. But that makes me sad. I want to record and put scary stories out there for my fellow scary story enthusiasts. And I have been wanting to make videos a lot more lately because I've been binging other creators' videos myself. Particularly, I've been watching Sam and Colby and Call Me Chris and Selena Spooky Boo, which, some of them, their main content is not necessarily spooky content, but I just love them all as creators. Either way, so thought I'd shout them out. Not that they need a shout out from me, but go check them out. They are really good, really cool creators, and they all seem like genuine, down-to-earth people whom I would be happy to call friends. So yeah, go check them all out. And I got off topic. So today's recording will maybe sound like we're on a Discord call together and be a little bit more intimate and fun and funky. I wanted to get on here today and actually tell some of my own personal scary stories from my life. And I thought maybe you would all appreciate hearing some of the spookier things that I have witnessed in my life. So, yeah, enjoy and come along with me for the ride. Okay, so so let me start with, I have always felt like I was a little on the sensitive side when it came to spiritual things, spooky things. As a child, I definitely had many strange encounters, and I was always told they were demonic growing up, that anything outside of the norm was most likely either angels or demons. And I grew up very religious, so for me that still kind of lingers, where I get very frightened whenever I am around something unnatural, because to me it most likely means something demonic. And so one of my first encounters, I was probably only about 9 years old, and I remember always being sensitive to feelings and energies, vibes, if you will. I always had initial readings or feelings of people when I first met them. I've always been a very good judge of character, and I always knew when someone was someone that I didn't want to be around. I think I've always read negative energies quicker than I've read positive ones, and So as a child, around 9, I just remember always being afraid of my bedroom closet. And I think that there's a reason that a lot of kids are afraid of those things. I think from what I've seen lately, sometimes doors and things like that can be considered portals for energies, for dark energies and things like that. So, when I was young, I was just like any other kid. I was afraid of my closet, and I was afraid of the dark. I'm still kind of afraid of sleeping in complete darkness, because it just sometimes feels like you're not alone. And I was the same way when I was younger. So around 9 years old, I lived in this little double wide trailer out in the middle of nowhere, and I was never really scared of any other part of my house except for my closet in my bedroom. I always slept with the closet closed. I had a habit of turning on the closet light and shutting the door. I wanted there to be something keeping the darkness away. So I would turn on the light so that I could see it peeking out from under the door, and I would shut the door because that was the only way that I could sleep, without worrying that something dark was going to come from the closet. And I did this every night for as long as I could remember. It was a habit. I would go into my room, I would turn on the light, and I would shut the door. And this one night in particular, I remember going through my usual routine, turning on the light, shutting the door, and laying down to go to sleep. And it's always taken me a long time to fall asleep. I've never been one to fall asleep very quickly or easily. My mind runs 1,000 miles an hour, and it takes me sometimes hours to fall asleep. But I remember falling asleep pretty quickly, or feeling like I was gonna fall asleep, and then waking up because I saw a bright light, and I rolled over, and the closet door was open. And I always turned the light on, so with the door open, it filled the room with light. And so I rolled over and I looked at the closet, and my heart just dropped, because standing in the doorway of the closet, the door was wide open, and again, I had closed it, and there was these 3 men, faceless men, pale, and they were all in black suits, and they were all just kind of staring at me, and it was as if they were trying to tell me something, but I was just so frozen in fear, seeing these 3 men, just no faces. Their faces were so bright that I couldn't see them, and I just froze, and I tried to scream, but nothing came out, and I just stared at them for what felt like an eternity, trying to get a scream to come from my throat, trying to get my mom's attention. And the next thing I knew, my mom was running into my room and shaking me, and I blinked, and the men were gone. And I looked at my mom, and I said, what are you doing in here? And she said, you were screaming. You were screaming at the top of your lungs. Like, are you okay? And I just shocked. I just looked over at the closet, and the men were gone, but the closet door was still open, wide open, and the lights were on, as if they had just been there, and my mom had maybe broken me from a trance and they had disappeared. It never felt like I woke up from being asleep. It just felt like I blinked and they were gone, and my mom was there waking me or shaking me out of my stupor. And I've never forgotten what those men looked like, because it was such a real and vivid experience. And I can chalk it up to perhaps sleep paralysis, but it still in the moment felt so vivid and real and terrifying. And why was the door open when every night religiously I closed that door? So yeah, that was one of my first experiences with something like that. The second experience I want to talk about is similar in nature, where like I said before, I have always been on the sensitive side. I have always felt like I was more aware of the energies around me than some others. Like, I was able to tell, like, even to this day at work. Sometimes I work full-time in retail, and there are times when someone will walk into my store and I will want nothing to do with them. And of course, I have to be professional and greet them and welcome them in and help them find whatever they're looking for. But there's something about their energies that just it literally will send shivers down my spine, where I just don't want to be around that person. And I can even sometimes get it through the screen. Like certain people, certain celebrities or influencers, certain people on YouTube or whatever, where they'll speak and there's just something dark about them that I just don't like. And, I have the opposite as well, where there's people who I can tell that they're a good person before they even open their mouth. And, it's strange. I guess I could just be kind of empathic, but anyway, getting off topic. I have had many times, and my mother and my sisters are very similar. The women in my family are very spiritually aware or in tuned. I don't really know what you would call it, but there have actually been several occasions, not just one or two, but many occasions where me and my mother and my two sisters have called each other in the middle of the night, or spoken to each other the next morning and asked, "Hey, did you wake up at 3:15 a.m. feeling like you had something demonic or heavy, like sitting on your chest, and it wouldn't go away?" And they would all, unanimously say, "Yes, oh my gosh, I was calling you to ask you the same thing," And my mother will say, I woke up at like 3:15 a.m. and all I could think was I needed to pray for you or pray for your sister or whichever one of us. And it's always whichever one of us was dealing with that heavy presence, that heavy feeling. And, we're all very connected with each other in that way, where, there's been many times where we've woken up, or woken each other up with phone calls saying, "Hey, are you okay? Is there anything I can do for you? Is there any prayer I can say for you?" Because we just know that something is going on with the other person. And it is this weird feeling. It's usually either one or two of us at a time have this heavy, it's almost like a dark being sitting on our chest and strangling us, trying to steal our breath. And we all tend to know when it happens to each other. It's very, very strange. Um, and if any of you has had any similar experiences, go ahead and leave it in the comments. I want to know your thoughts on why that would be. Of course, loved ones are connected to each other in many ways, but for there to be a connection to that level, for us to know when each other is suffering, it's very strange. But yeah, so that's another one of my regular spooky experiences. And the last one I want to talk about is one that actually happened very recently and scared the living daylights out of me. I have not had as many experiences in the last several years that I used to. I used to have them all the time, but in the last few years it's been pretty quiet. So this past year, I've been very stressed, very anxious. I've moved to full-time at my job and taken on responsibilities that I already knew beforehand I was not going to handle well, and so there have been a couple of really bad nightmares that feel like they might be more than just a nightmare. And I've had some sleep paralysis and things like that, but this one was different. It was scarier than anything I think I've ever experienced. And of course, if any of you have comments on what this might mean, please leave them below. But a few months ago, I was laying in bed trying to go to sleep next to my husband, as you do, and trying to fall asleep, and I swear to you I was awake. I don't remember falling asleep, and usually I'm very aware when I'm starting to fall asleep because it takes me so long to fall asleep. But I was just laying on my side, staring at the wall, basically. And I have this, so when I lay on my side, I'm generally facing my bedroom closet. And my husband is behind me. And on my wall, I have this pretty little, like bumblebee, pink and flowery, memo board, I guess you could call it. It's like a, you can put pictures and things on it. And this is how I logic it out to myself that I was awake, because the detail of this dream or experience was so insane that I could see every detail in my room. I could see my wall. I could the level of lighting was exactly the same. My closet door was open about a quarter of the way, and there was some laundry on the floor, and I could see the memo board right there. And all of a sudden I blinked, and this figure was standing next to me, just staring down at me, and he was partially blocking out my view of like the memo board and stuff on the wall, which is how I was looking at him, and I was like, this can't be real. Like, I must be dealing with some sort of sleep paralysis. Like, I was aware. I was like, this must be a dream. Like, this can't be real. And I just stared at this figure for a moment because I couldn't explain why it was there or what it was. And as I was looking at it, my heart just dropped more and more, and I got more and more afraid, and I started just asking someone to help me. I felt it staring into my soul, and I knew that it was dark. Whatever it was dark. And I tried to look away from it, but I couldn't, and I just kept saying, help me, somebody help me, please. And it spoke to me. It said, I'll help you. And I just broke down. I started I started just saying Jesus. I started saying Jesus, Jesus, Jesus over and over again. And I couldn't say anything else. I just kept saying the name of Jesus because I was like, I don't know what else to do. I don't know who else to call. And I need to break out of this, whatever this is. And it's like it had no face. It was just this dark pit. But I could tell it was like smiling at me. And I just kept saying the name of Jesus over and over again, and before I knew it, my husband was shaking my shoulder, and I finally broke the gaze of this, like looking at this thing, and I turned around and I looked at my husband, and he said, "What, are you okay? What is going on?" And I instinctively looked back over my shoulder, and the figure was gone. I had never opened my eyes or closed my eyes. I had never... the scene there was exactly the same. The laundry on the floor, the closet open about a quarter of the way. I could see the memo board again. This figure's body wasn't blocking my view of the memo board. And the scariest thing about it was my brother's voice. This creature, but it was like doubled. You know how in the movies when something is scary or demonic, the voice is like double or triple, where there's multiple voices coming out of one being and saying the same thing. And that's what it sounded like, but it was my brother's voice. It was just slightly, deeper. It was a little bit deeper than my brother's voice, coupled with a much deeper, scary, like demonic voice. And I still to this day have no idea what it was or why it happened. Again, maybe I just have some insomnia, sleep paralysis issues or something like that, but it's still, when I think back on it, gives me chills. And yeah, so if you guys want to chat about it in the comments, I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I'll be responding to comments if I get any, because I like chatting about this kind of thing. And tell me some of your scary stories, things that you've experienced in your life. And if you liked this video, give it a like and subscribe, and let me know what you think, and if you want me to make more more personal videos, or if you prefer my other format of reading scary stories and being more in character and things like that. But yeah, it was fun talking about, well, fun and frightening, talking about some of the things that I've witnessed in my life. But yeah, again, go check out Sam and Colby and Selena Spooky Boo and Call Me Chris, and also Vinci. Vinci is one of my favorite Reddit readers, like, of all time. His channel is probably my favorite thing. I wake up with his videos every morning, and he starts my day off right. So go check him out as well. And if you could, give me a like and a subscribe, and I'd love to chat with you in the comments below. And yeah, thanks for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye bye, lovelies.